Hey football fans, and welcome to the Coordinator Project, where I'll be breaking down every Power 5 play caller between now and the beginning of next season. In today's video, we're looking at Colorado defensive coordinator Tyson Summers, but I'll be posting a few breakdowns every week throughout the offseason, so be sure to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell to get notified whenever a new video posts. In 2020, Summers' Colorado defense finished a little below average in both the Pac-12 and in the country in most major defensive categories, giving up 420 yards and 32 points per game. On the ground, they finished 8th in their conference, allowing 181 yards per game, and they gave up 239 through the air, which was good for 8th in the conference and number 70 nationally. So those are the basic stats, but who is Tyson Summers and where did he come from? Summers came to Colorado with Mel Tucker in 2019, and that tells you most of the story of his basic defensive philosophy. Before moving to Boulder, Summers and Tucker worked together at Georgia under head coach Kirby Smart, who was himself a longtime defensive coordinator for Nick Saban at Alabama, and when Summers talks about his defensive philosophy, he puts himself firmly within that coaching tree. Here he is in his own words, shortly after being hired by Colorado in 2019. I wanted to learn the 3-4 and be in that Mel Tucker, Kirby Smart, Nick Saban system that's had the success that it's had. It's been really successful for them, and for me, it was a great way to get into the 3-4 world. We're going to be very similar here to what Georgia's been the last 3 years with Coach Tucker. So what is that Saban-influenced 3-4 defense that Summers wants to run at Colorado? To get into that, I've broken down his games against Stanford and UCLA and picked a couple of different defensive looks that we can get into to help you get to know Summers as a coordinator. The first look that we're going to study is that base 3-4 defense itself. Here we see it against the 2 tight end set from Stanford, and this will generally be the look against either 12 personnel with 1 running back and 2 tight ends, or against 21 personnel with 2 backs and 1 tight end. A base 3-4 package like this plays with 3 massive down linemen, including a nose tackle, who usually lines up directly over the center, and then 2 defensive ends who usually shade just inside of the offensive tackles. 2 outside linebackers will then be the bookends at the first level, looking almost like stand-up defensive ends, while the 2 inside linebackers stack over the offensive guards and man the second level. This defense is really going to live and die by those 3 defensive linemen in the middle of the formation. When you use your outside linebackers to defend the edges like this, it lets you pinch all 3 of those massive D linemen in between the tackles, clogging up the middle and forcing the offense into 1 or 2 bad decisions. They can either double team those defensive linemen and let the inside linebackers roam free behind them, or they can get up to the linebackers quickly but create one-on-one blocks for the D line. On this play, we're going to see what both of those options look like. First, let's keep an eye on this backside defensive end right here. After the snap, we see that he's getting a double team from the left tackle and the tight end, but in spite of this double team, he's not allowing a lot of push off the line of scrimmage. The key here is that when these 2 blockers are tied up on this double team, they can't be releasing up to block someone else, like maybe this outside linebacker on the edge, or this safety that's rocking down into the box as a cutback defender. So this defensive end is doing a good job of keeping blockers off of those guys behind him, and this is going to let them flow to the ball. On the flip side, in 2020, Colorado's D-line was strong enough that you didn't want to leave those double teams too early in the down, and we'll see that with the blocks on the nose tackle and the play side defensive end right here. Notice that after the snap, both the right tackle and the center are making only minimal contact with their defensive linemen before sliding up to these inside linebackers, and that's going to leave the offensive guards singled up. Colorado's D-line are able to bully those blockers, getting a couple of yards of push into the backfield, and we can really see how this impacts the path of the running back here. So the nose tackle's push is going to prevent him from cutting back to the left side of the formation, and the play side defensive end's push is going to force him to work almost completely horizontally as he tries to get to an open running lane. So when Colorado's defense is performing well, you're left with 2 bad options. Do you double team those defensive linemen, letting other players in the box roam free, or do you get up to the second level defenders and leave some of your blockers one-on-one with a very strong Buffalo D-line? Another key to running this kind of classic 3-4 defense is going to come from these inside linebackers, who ideally need to be able to read, react, beat blocks, and flow to the ball whether or not the line's able to keep blockers off of them. And we can see the difference between a successful rep and a failure if we pause the play right here. Here we see that right tackle who's left his double team early to get up to this inside linebacker. If that tackle's able to seal that linebacker off right here, and if this right guard's able to control the defensive end and seal him off to the inside, then there's going to be a nice lane for the running back right here. Instead, as we've seen, the defensive end's going to get pushed and force the running back to work horizontally, and then this inside linebacker is going to be able to shoot underneath the block of that right tackle to fill the lane, getting a tackle 2 yards in the backfield. So it really takes the combination of both the defensive line domination and the quick reads and reactions by this inside linebacker to turn this run into a negative gain. Of course, Colorado didn't have a dominant rush defense in 2020, and there were times when this structure broke down, and we're going to see what that looks like on this play right here. On this play, we're going to keep an eye on this play side defensive end. After the snap, notice that the center is going to work over to get into a double team on that guy with the left guard. When we look at the left guard, we see that instead of making minimal contact and leaving immediately to block the linebacker like we saw in the last play, he's able to chip the defensive end back across the center's face, letting the center get that defensive end under control before the guard releases up to seal off the inside linebacker. So what we're seeing here is that if you're an offense, beating this 3-4 front is all about efficiency and execution on these combo blocks, because if you do it right, you get the ability to both get the first level under control while also being able to get a blocker up to the second level. And the difference between success and failure is all about how well you execute and work together on these blocks. On this play, we can also see how an offense can actually benefit from those big 3-4 defensive linemen playing a little too aggressively, trying to get that push into the backfield when they're left in one-on-one situations. So here, when the center releases over to that double team that we were just looking at, that's going to leave this right guard singled up on the nose tackle, who's trying to shoot into the backfield, just like we saw in the last play. On this play, though, he plays a little bit loose and ends up overrunning the lane with his back to the ball, letting the running back cut up inside of him to hit that lane that's opened up by the center left guard double team. Although this 3-4 alignment is Colorado's base look under Summers, he's really only going to use it if you decide to go big and slug it out in the trenches. When offenses get into lighter personnel packages like 10 or 11 personnel, he is very quick to sub into one of several nickel and dime packages, although the dime wasn't actually that common in the games that I charted. These nickel packages are important though because in this era filled with spread offenses, they're often going to be more common and more important than Summers' base 3-4 itself. Here we're seeing Colorado in one of their most common nickel looks. They've taken an outside linebacker off the field and replaced him with a nickelback, leaving all three of their defensive linemen on the field, while their weak side outside linebacker puts his hand in the dirt to play as an edge rusher, like a pure defensive end, putting the Buffaloes in a de facto 4-2-5 alignment. And this was the look that Summers used whenever he wanted to play coverage behind a vanilla 4-man pass rush. Colorado could run some basic 5-man pressures out of this look, bringing a blitzer off the edge and spinning their safeties to replace him in coverage, but for the most part they used this look when they wanted to rush 4 and drop 7. We can see one of Summers' favorite 7-man nickel coverages on this play, where Stanford's got 3 receiving threats at the top of the screen and just 1 off screen down here at the bottom. The key feature of this coverage is that in this nickel package, Colorado wants to play 3-on-2 over 2 receivers to the strong side. So the nickelback here is going to line up outside of them, and he's going to take any outside breaking routes. The strong side linebacker is going to line up inside of them and take any inside breaking routes, and then a safety is going to play over the top to take anything vertical. In a case like this one, where the offense has 1 extra receiver in addition to those 2, then Colorado's just going to man up on that guy with a cornerback on the outside. Overall, in the games that I broke down, this structure did a good job of taking away the strong side passing game. You can get some isolations with the cornerback on the single receiver out here, and you can hit some quick game stuff in this void in between the nickelback and the linebacker, but the defense is playing 4 over 3 to this side, and that's usually going to limit opportunities for the offense to throw the ball. Where things open up for the offense against this coverage is on the backside, and a lot of that has to do with the way that Colorado wants to defend the run in nickel packages like this one. In addition to fortifying their strong side coverage in this way, one thing that stands out about Summers' defense is that he's going to take active measures to make sure that he can outnumber the offense's blockers in the run game, even against a pretty wide open formation like this one from Stanford, and this is going to have some interesting consequences. If we look at Stanford's formation here, we see that they have 6 blockers in the box, including their 5 offensive linemen and the tight end. In this de facto 4-2 nickel look, though, Colorado only has 6 defenders in the front, and so they'll need an extra body if they want to outnumber those blockers. Given the 4-on-3 coverage that they want to play to the strong side of this formation, if they want to get an extra defender into the box, it's probably going to have to come from this weak safety, and as we see here, in this look, they'll often walk that guy down into the box as a 7th run defender. Now, Summers is still going to want to try to get the best of both worlds out of that guy, so when that safety gets a pass read, he's still going to drop and offer help to the cornerback that we can't see off screen, and we can see that right here when Stanford's offensive line pass sets, and that safety drops out to create an inside-outside bracket with that cornerback. Because that safety's starting from a roll-down position, though, he can be late getting into that position, and right here we see that even though this ball's overthrown, Stanford has been able to get their receiver behind this bracket coverage. An offense that has a real speed receiver on the weak side could potentially take advantage of the fact that this guy's responsible for both the cutback in the run game and for giving inside help to the cornerback. A lot of success against Colorado came from attacking the weak side of the formation like this, and not just in the downfield passing game. Here, UCLA is in a 2x2 set, and the running back up here is threatening as a 3rd potential receiver out of the backfield. Well, remember that Colorado wants to play 4-on-3 over 3 strong side receivers, and so they're playing 3-on-2 over the 2 receivers that are split out wide, and then this linebacker will widen with any running back release to give Colorado that 4-on-3 structure. On this play, UCLA is attacking this coverage structure with something called a dual screen. Here, we see the running back running a swing route to the top of the screen, and the quarterback's just going to eye up this linebacker right here. If that linebacker widens with the running back to preserve Colorado's 4-on-3 coverage structure to this side, that's going to leave just 3 second-level defenders to the weak side, and UCLA is then going to target that by throwing a tunnel screen to the outside receiver. The slot receiver is going to kick out the cornerback, the center and right guard are going to release up to the weak side linebacker and the safety, and then that wide receiver is going to be able to cut back inside into a ton of space. As we've seen, though, this play has numbers because Colorado's dedicating that linebacker as an extra coverage defender to the strong side, leaving them a little bit short-handed to the opposite side. When Colorado wanted to blitz, they took that weak side outside linebacker, and instead of putting his hand in the dirt like a true defensive end, they put him in a 2-point stance, and on this play, we'll get a good look at their favorite blitz out of this look. If we look to the left side of center, we see the Stanford's got 2 blockers, and so Colorado's blitz here is looking to isolate them by attacking them with 3 pass rushers. To start, they're going to take this strong side linebacker and blitz him across the center's face, forcing the center to block him. This blitz then prevents the center from giving any help to the left tackle and left guard. Next, they're going to blitz the defensive back off the edge and twist the defensive end and nose tackle, creating a 3-on-2 matchup that Stanford can't possibly block. On this play, the left tackle sits wide for the blitzing nickelback, the left guard stays with the nose tackle, and nobody is left for the twisting defensive end, who gets a tackle for loss in the backfield. On this play, we're going to get another look at that blitz. Just like on the last play, Stanford has 2 blockers to the right of center, and so the strong side linebacker is going to blitz the center, and then a defensive back is going to come off the edge while the defensive end and nose tackle twist, giving the Buffaloes a 3-on-2 matchup in the pass rush to this side. Here, the right guard and right tackle are going to stay with the 2 twisting defensive linemen, and so the defensive back is going to come unblocked off the edge, hitting the quarterback as he throws. Earlier I mentioned that Colorado likes to run these blitzes with their weak side edge defender in a 2-point stance, and we can see the reason for that right here. When we look at Stanford's offensive formation, we see that they have 2 potential receivers in the box to the left side of the formation, with that being the tight end and the running back here. As we know, on the opposite side of the formation, this defensive back and linebacker each play a necessary role in the pass rush, and so they won't be able to operate in coverage, meaning that Colorado has to spin their safeties to that side of the field to replace the coverage that gets lost when they blitz. So, one safety is going to spin down to replace the defensive back blitzing off the edge, while the other is going to play in the deep middle of the field as a single high help player. When the safeties have to spin to the side of the blitz like this, however, that leaves these 2 linebackers as the only defenders capable of picking up the tight end and the running back. And here we can see that this linebacker is going to run with the tight end, while the outside linebacker on the edge is going to peel with the running back on the wheel route. And this is something that wouldn't be possible if this guy were a true hand-in-the-dirt defensive end. When you look at this coverage, though, you see that it does make it easy to isolate that outside linebacker on a good pass-catching running back coming out of the backfield. Remember that the blitz here is going to occupy all of these defenders, and so this inside linebacker will have to cover the tight end, the cornerback's going to have to cover his wide receiver, and the safeties have already had to spin away from that running back toward the side of the blitz to pick up coverage. On this play, Stanford's going to run the tight end and the wide receiver down inside, pulling away the inside linebacker and the cornerback, leaving that outside linebacker one-on-one with the running back on a wheel route with no safety help over the top. So, if you can find a way to slide toward the blitz and get it protected, then you've got good potential for attacking this backside coverage structure if you can find the right matchup. Alright, that's it for this video. If you like this content, please hit the thumbs up button under this video. The more likes, the more YouTube will recommend it to other people, so it really helps to support the channel. Also, if there's a coordinator that you really want to see here, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see what I can do. Otherwise, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to get notified whenever a new breakdown goes up, and I'll see you here next time.